everyone and welcome back to Bonnie Astrology. Today we're discussing the horoscopes for May 2024, what the month of May has in store for your zodiac sign. As always, if you do enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel for regular astrology updates and horoscopes. And if you want to book a private reading with me or follow me on my socials, they're all listed in the description box below. Please note, if you email me, I am quite slow to respond. I'm owning it. But I am taking bookings for the end of May going into June 2024. So let's have a little look at the astrology for May 2024. It is following a very intense and tumultuous April 2024, which had eclipse season, a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, Mercury retrograde in Aries, and a very intense full moon in Scorpio to top it all off. May is a little bit more chill, but it also has the potential for some very positive and exciting developments, thanks to Jupiter not only forming conjunctions with the Sun and Venus in Taurus, but also moving into Gemini on May 25th. And we have a very exciting day to highlight, the 18th of May, when Venus connects with Uranus and the Sun conjuncts Jupiter. And this is going to be incredibly exciting, particularly in the Taurus part of your chart. You may look for something going on there. But this month in general has a lot of opportunity to plant seeds, to initiate new beginnings that are very rooted in reality, that are going to require commitment and consistency, but are going to pay off in the long run abundantly. And as well as that, we have a very joyful full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd, coinciding with a Venus-Jupiter conjunction, which is bringing a lot of optimism, hope and joy, which we could all use after a very intense, challenging April. So there's a lot to look forward to in May 2024. If you do want to click ahead to your zodiac sign, the timestamps are listed below, but if you want a quick summary on what May 2024 has in store for us collectively, just keep watching. So we're kickstarting May with Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Pluto goes retrograde on the 2nd of May and is going to cover the old ground that it covered in Aquarius since January, but in September Pluto is actually going to retrograde back into Capricorn at the anaretic degree and finish up its cycle there until November, when it will re-enter Aquarius for the next 20 odd years. So you may notice some repetition in terms of the shadow work or the inner transformations you've been going through in the Aquarius part of your chart, particularly if you have any placements at 0, 1 or 2 degrees of the fixed sign. There may be some time to integrate the lessons and the changes that have been occurring since Pluto entered Aquarius. For us collectively, there may be some need to revisit different social causes or social issues that are going on for us collectively. Themes of humanitarianism, going over old issues, because a lot of the time with humanitarian crises, because the news is so quick moving, we tend to move on to the next thing quite quickly and forget about old causes, old issues, old problems, and this retrograde may draw our attention back to an ongoing crisis or a social crisis that's going on either in your local neighborhood, in your local cities, or collectively in terms of the world. We also have a Mercury-Chiron conjunction on the 6th. This has been a theme of the Mercury retrograde, and this can be a time of very healing or powerful conversations that help you move forward from a painful thought process or a painful conversation that you had during the retrograde. This may be linked to themes of identity. This may be linked to themes of bravery, courage, or where we do or do not take action. And there's a really cute new moon in Taurus happening on the 7th or the 8th of May, depending on where you are. This is a wonderful time to set intentions and plant seeds, even literally as it's happening in the sign of Taurus. And Taurus is very associated with gardening, agriculture, and you might find that you're more in tune with nature. You're wanting to take walks in the forest, you're wanting to hike, you're wanting to camp. But this is a beautiful time to set intentions in the Taurus part of your chart, because it does form a very supportive sextile with Saturn, which means you're more than likely willing to put in the effort and the work required to get that abundance that you're seeking. On the 15th, Mercury enters Taurus, and Mercury has had quite a long stay in Aries thanks to the retrograde. Mercury and Taurus were more likely to want to talk at a slower pace, think a little bit slower, practice mindfulness, practice groundedness in conversation. We're not wanting to speak so abruptly or so quickly, or to take action so quickly. And in Taurus, the conversation may be switching to the food you're eating. It's great for dinner conversations. It's great to talk about the garden, talk about nature, talk about the environment. Mercury in Taurus likes us to slow down what we're talking about, how quick we're talking, and also to take a more steady approach to conversations, and perhaps even a more thoughtful approach to conversations, though it can bring the potential to be a little bit stubborn. Mercury also forms a square to Pluto on the 17th, so this might bring about a tense conversation or a clash of wills, perhaps surrounding a bill at a restaurant or surrounding values with friendships. Mercury and Taurus clashing with Pluto in Aquarius, it's a bit of discord when it comes to the future of finances, when it comes to food at a restaurant. Splitting the bill or something like that can be a bit tense, but it can just bring about tense conversations in general, so do watch for that day. Try not to dig your heels in too much with Mercury being in Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius. A super exciting day of May 2024 is the 18th, because Venus is conjunct Uranus and the Sun is conjunct Jupiter, both in Taurus. So if you have any placements from 20 onwards of Taurus or the fixed signs, you're likely to be feeling this most intensely. This is going to be a time of perhaps surprises romantically, surprises in relationships, surprises financially, but also a lot of growth and expansion and good feelings. This is a great day for a surprise party. This is a great day for an event, attending a music festival, for example, or attending a garden party, something that really connects you with the earth. Going out to a restaurant could bring about exciting developments, exciting changes. Expect the unexpected, but it feels quite positive. That is a particularly exciting day to be out and about and connecting with people, especially if it is around food or the outdoors or music, with it happening in the sign of Taurus. On the 19th, Mars in Aries is connecting with the North Node, and this is looking like clarity on where to take action, the direction that you're going to want to go in bravely and courageously with this happening in the sign of Aries. This may be a day when you feel particularly bold, you want to take a risk, or you simply feel like you must do it now, or the opportunity will pass, with Mars connecting with the true node in Aries on the 19th. 20th, the Sun enters Gemini and we all become a little bit more chatty. This is a great time to get involved in your local community, to talk to your neighbours, to build relationships with your neighbours, to really engage in conversations and be open to learning from other people, open to learning from other people's perspectives, or even to take a course, no matter what age you are, to sign up for a class, to sign up for a workshop, in order to keep your mind occupied on something new, something novel, and something exciting. Another exciting day is the 23rd. We have a full moon in joyful, optimistic, and adventurous Sagittarius. This is looking like a really nice time to travel, to book a trip, to experience a different culture, to experience a different adventure in your life, especially because on the 23rd, Venus and Jupiter are conjunct as well. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and to be connecting with Venus means that there may be something quite lucky happening. You could meet really exciting people, really interesting people, people from all sorts of different backgrounds. You could connect with people on a friendship level. You could connect with someone romantically. And you could even find opportunities. Maybe you're wanting to travel, but you don't feel like you have the funds. This can be a day where that sort of sorts itself out rather opportunistically, depending on your chart, of course. But Venus connecting with Jupiter, especially in the last degree of Taurus, is really larger than life. This may be a day where you're more than prepared to go back for seconds, to get the dessert, to get the entree, to get everything. This can be a day where things are taken to excess, but it is very joyful and it is very jolly with Venus connecting to Jupiter in Taurus. Venus then enters Gemini, and in terms of relationships of all kinds, we want to have more focus on communication. And communication is a very important part of any kind of relationship. So this might be a time where you're enjoying chatting with friends, you're enjoying chatting with your neighbours, you're maybe finding love in your neighbourhood, you're maybe making a new friend in your neighbourhood. And this can also be a good time to really have important conversations with financial advisors or people who can help you out with your money, to discuss money. And one of the biggest events of May, and I mean big, is that Jupiter is changing signs. Jupiter is going into Gemini for the better part of a year, and you may find that your Gemini part of your chart is going to be blessed going forward. There's chances for growth, expansion, happiness, joy, opportunity, wherever Gemini is in your chart. And this can especially favor Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising people. So if you have Gemini placements, just know that you're in for a bit of luck and blessing from the universe going forward. Have no fear. Jupiter in Gemini will have its own separate video though, so you can stay tuned for that. Look out for light bulb ideas, clarity, but also shocking or surprising news or conversations on the 31st, because Mercury is conjunct Uranus at 24 degrees of Taurus. This can bring surprising news, shocking conversations, but it can also bring mental clarity, brilliant ideas, and the ability to think outside of a box on a long-standing problem. So that's what's coming up astrologically in May 2024. I hope you all have a beautiful and blessed month. As always, the timestamps are listed below. I do suggest that you watch your ascendant for the most accurate astrology predictions, but you can watch your sun and your moon as well if you so wish. I will talk to you soon. Have a great month. Bye. Hi Aries, welcome to May 2024. I hope you're all doing well. So Aries, good news this month because Mars, your ruler, is going to be in your sign for the whole of May. Now this is good for all of us, but for you in particular, this is your ruling planet in its home sign in your first house. And after a particularly energy zapping eclipse season, Mercury retrograde in your sign, it was a very intense April. You may have been lacking energy at points. A lot of the time when we have solar eclipses or lunar eclipses in our sign, as you would have had a solar eclipse in your sign conjunct Chiron in April, you can feel a little bit zapped of energy, or your energy can be very imbalanced. And now that Mars is in your sign, you're getting your energy back. You're going to feel more driven to achieve your own personal goals. You'll probably want to be more physically active. So whether that's jogging, whether that is hitting the gym, going for a hike, going for a swim, whatever it is that you like to do, Aries, in terms of your physical outlets, I feel as though this is going to be a month where you have more energy to do so. And if you have a personal goal, look out for the 19th because you might get some clarity on how to take action on that when Mars is conjunct the North Node in your sign. You might feel more determined. You might feel as though you have a clear direction on where it is that you want to go. And because it's the North Node, it can be a bit challenging, but you are indeed up to the challenge. Now, aside from that good news, there's a lot of focus this month on your finances. Now, your finances, your income, the money that you make, your values, but also your self-confidence has been a wider theme. You know, Jupiter has been in your second house, Uranus has been in your second house. They met in April. And now we have the sun there for quite a lot of the month up until the 20th. The sun is going to be in your second house, but we have a new moon there on the 7th or the 8th, depending on where you are. And this means that there may be a new beginning in store when it comes to your wealth. When it comes to your money, this might also be a new budget, a new purchase, but there's a new beginning when it comes to your finances. And because of the sextile to Saturn in your 12th house, I kind of think for a lot of you that the work you've been doing behind the scenes, whether that's on fears surrounding money, anxiety surrounding money, or perhaps you've just been a little bit more aware of what you need to let go of, this is in some way potentially helping you with your financial situation. So Saturn is all about commitments, it's all about boundaries. Maybe you have been committing to cutting certain things out of your budget and now you're finding you have a little bit extra to work with. But it looks like it might be a new beginning financially for you. So maybe if you're starting a new job, you're getting a new salary, or maybe you've got a new side hustle on the go. But for some of you, this can be a great time to just simply set intentions about what you want your financial situation to be, because you more than likely have the ability to commit to it with that sextile to Saturn. And Mercury enters your money sector in the 15th as well, so it's a great time to get information on your finances. It's a great time to research, read about money, whether that's a book, whether that's scouring the internet for advice. It's a good time to learn as much as you can about finances because you'll probably be more interested in that, Aries, at this time as well. Now, Venus is also going to be there for the majority of the month, right up until the 23rd. And that's also lovely for all of us, but also particularly lovely for you because Mars being in its home sign of Aries, Venus being in its home sign of Taurus means that your first house and your second house are being blessed with positive forward momentum because Venus is very happy in Taurus. So This can be great for finding items you want to buy. This can be a time where you feel more physically or aesthetically appealing, because Venus in the second house means that you feel more self-confident, you feel more your self-esteem is better when Venus goes through your second house. And it also can be a time where you just simply feel more worthy of good things, I would say, as well. Venus does meet Uranus on the 18th, and the Sun and Jupiter also meet in your second house on the 18th. So the 18th of May is a big date because we could have some positive surprises when it comes to money. We could have some positive surprises when it comes to financial matters. And you could also simply have some positive growth when it comes to your finances as well. So it does look like a really positive month for money, Aries, as well as self-esteem, confidence, finding value in yourself, and just feeling altogether a little bit more stable and secure, as opposed to April, which was really quite crazy. Your ruler Mars does meet Chiron on the 29th, so there might be something that you feel ready to face that has been otherwise quite painful for you. This could be to do with your physical body. It could be, say, you needed to have, I don't know, a physical procedure done, perhaps, that you were quite nervous to do because it was going to be a little bit painful in order to fix something. Or it can be that perhaps you're feeling ready to face an emotional issue, or you have an actual physical challenge. There's a little bit of pain involved with Chiron, but it's the kind of pain that also leads to healing. So potentially that's that you're putting yourself through a physical challenge, which might hurt a little bit, such as hiking a mountain, or it might be a case that perhaps you need a procedure done that's actually going to hurt a little bit and you're kind of nervous about. There seems to be something you're facing head on the 29th, and it might feel a little bit painful, but you feel very determined to get it done. There's also a really surprising day, the 31st, when Mercury meets Uranus in your second house. There could be a very surprising conversation about money and a letter about money. It can also be that you get a really genius idea when it comes to money. But Mercury and Uranus meeting in your second house means that there's some sort of financial surprise in store for you, Aries. Another date that's very important is the full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd. Some of you could be planning a trip. Some of you could be planning to take some kind of voyage to perhaps go abroad. Some of you could be planning a holiday or going on a holiday. Some of you could even be deciding that you want to learn something new. Under this full moon, you could be getting clarity on what you want to study. Or if you're in higher education, this can be a time when you're getting a degree, exam results, or you're getting a diploma, something that's going to give you a new educational benefit. I don't know. It's kind of giving me the sense that you might be graduating or you might be getting exam results or something like that. And it feels quite positive. This full moon is in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius in your 11th house of the future. So it can positively change your future, or it can be a positive experience with friends, with groups, with peers. That kind of thing can be happening under this full moon. But it does feel like a grand adventure could be on the horizon for a lot of Aries risings in particular. Gemini season, with the Sun entering Gemini on the 20th, Venus on the 23rd, and then Jupiter on the 25th. Well, this means that your third house is about to be blessed in May 2024, and Jupiter is actually going to be there right up until June 2025. So this is blessing your sector of writing. So if you're a writer, if you're a creative, but of course many professions can have writing involved in them. This is also to do with siblings, so getting on better with your siblings, positive experience with siblings, cousins, your local neighbourhood, short trips, taking a lot of trips out of town, taking a lot of trips in your local state, in your local country. And it can also be that you get more involved in your community. You know, you find more joy going to your local coffee store or your local community center. A lot of positive events can happen in these areas, Aries, as well. And it's also really positive for communication. But Jupiter is going to be blessing that sector for a year. So you can expect lots of positive events happening in your local neighborhood, your local community. Basically, the things that feel familiar can be the places and things and people that bring you the most blessings, Aries. That's what I have for you. Have a great month. Talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to May 2024 and a very happy birthday to all the Taurians who are celebrating in May. So Taurus, this is a really great month for you. Jupiter is going to remain in your sign until the 25th, so make sure you make the most of it. And it's a particularly positive way to round up the Jupiter in your sign transit. You might have traveled more, you might have learned more about yourself, you might have felt more optimistic, more expansive. But May is special because May is when Venus meets Jupiter, the Sun meets Jupiter. You're just going to notice this month, and Venus obviously meets Uranus as well. You're just going to notice this month that there's a lot of blessings coming to you. It might be quite a lucky month, so make sure that you have yourself out there, that you're open to opportunities, open to people, open to experiences, because this could really be a month for the books, Taurus, as long as you're, showing up with an open mind and an open heart and ready for adventure, which is what Jupiter wants of you. But Jupiter will enter your second house, and you're going to like this too, as the sign that is associated with the second house, Taurus. You're usually quite fond of not only the material stability that Jupiter in the second can bring, the material abundance that it can bring, but also just the sensual, sensory pleasures that it can bring. Good food, good wine. You buy new clothes, they're in lovely materials. It's that kind of energy when Jupiter goes through the second. A lot of the time, Jupiter going through the second house can expand our wealth. It can expand our income. We can find ourselves more financially abundant. Now, that being said, the best advice I ever got before Jupiter went into my second house a couple of years ago was that you must make sure that you do save some of this, because you can spend it just as much. And if you save some of this money, or at least try and save what you can, it can really grow. So, savings can grow as well in the second house. So you might find yourself setting up some sort of financial plan, Taurus, particularly as we go into June and we have a lot of different planets in the second house for you. So Venus enters that sector on the 23rd, the Sun on the 20th. And to have Venus and Jupiter in your second house towards the end of May going into June can really expand your finances. It can really make you more financially abundant. It can also make you more confident and understand your value, see your worth more. And that makes you more attractive to opportunities or even people who see your value as well. That's important to remember also. But I've gotten ahead of myself. That's the Gemini energy. A lot of this month is very focused on you, Taurus. So your first house, we have a new moon there happening on the 7th or the 8th, depending on where you are in the world. And this is a new chapter for you. It's a new beginning. It is a time to say, I want to be this. I am this, to affirm what you are in present tense as if it's already happened. If you're looking to get somewhere, to set a personal goal, the way you want to behave, the way you want to feel about yourself, the way you want to look physically. This is the time to set those goals and those intentions, Taurus, with a very positive new moon in your first house. And it's got this lovely sextile to Saturn, which brings this commitment and this staying power with it as well, which you'd love to hear. And Saturn's in your 11th house, which means that you could be very well supported by your community. You could be very supported by your friends, your social network, social groups. If you are embarking on a new personal journey, or you are setting new intentions and goals for yourself, it feels like you're pretty supported by people around you, which is always really nice. Like, you have a supportive audience, Taurus, with what you're doing. So maybe you're rebranding yourself and you're wanting to dress differently that suits you better now. You're sort of, you've grown and expanded and changed with Jupiter and Uranus in your first house, and you're saying, okay, I think I found my style, and I want to dress like this going forward. I want to feel like this going forward. And everyone's going, yay, you do you. So it's that kind of energy, Taurus. You're feeling very much yourself, and you're feeling quite supported by it as well. We still do have some 12th house activity though. So obviously April was very 12th house heavy, with the solar eclipse in Aries, the Mercury retrograde in Aries, Chiron being in Aries, the Sun being in Aries. It was very 12th house heavy, which is very inward. Sometimes you can feel a bit isolated, but other times it can simply be that you're realizing what you need to let go of, what you need to release, what no longer serves you. You can have a front row seat to the movie of your own subconscious, and that could have been quite a big clearing space for you. Even energetically clearing, sometimes with 12th house transits, particularly eclipses, we feel like we need to sleep more. But a period of letting go it was. And Mars is there. Now, Mars loves being in Aries. Mars is going to be in Aries all month. But this means that when it comes to fighting your inner demons, when it comes to fighting away your fears, facing your fears, Mars in Aries for you is there to help you through it. It's where you're going to feel as though you're brave enough to tackle this thing from the past. You're brave enough to clear out this scary closet. You're brave enough to look under your bed and clear what's under there. It's that kind of energy too. And funnily enough, you might have an idea in terms of your healing journey of what direction you want to go in the 19th. Maybe that is that you're thinking, oh, I really want to go on a retreat next, or I really want to try this method of healing next. You kind of have a clear idea of what it is that you want to do next, Taurus, when it comes to your healing journey. Or if you are a healer, as a lot of people that watch this are in healing professions, a lot of people that are into astrology are in healing professions. But whether it's that you do it professionally, or whether that it's your inner world, your inner journey, your own journey, this might be a month where you get a bit of clarity on the direction you want to go in there. You know, what it is you want to do. Taurus. So we also have Mercury entering your sign in the 15th. So Mercury did an extended stay in your 12th house, where you might have been thinking more about the past. You might have been thinking more about, you simply might have been mentally more worried. You might have thought about past deceits. You might have thought about concepts of karma. You might have thought more about secrets. You might have learned some secrets. You might have told some secrets. And you might have been reflecting on a lot of these different things. And you could still be feeling the remnants of that up until the 15th, especially actually around the 6th, when Mercury is conjunct Chiron. So you might be having an important conversation with someone, particularly if it's a therapist or someone who is in some way helping you heal. You might find that you have an important conversation around that time. But Mercury entering your sign in the 15th, well, it makes you more chatty. It makes you feel like you have more on your mind to put forward, to say to people. You want to be more communicative. You want to talk about what it is that you're doing as well. And you might find at times someone may mention, when Mercury's going through your first house, that you're speaking about yourself a bit more, you're talking about yourself a lot, and you can just let them know that Mercury's in your sign and it's your time. Simple as that. But you might also be thinking about yourself a little bit more, Taurus, and thinking about what it is you want to do and making plans for yourself as well. There's a full moon in Sagittarius happening on the 23rd. And this is happening in your 8th house. Now, full moons in the 8th house are sometimes quite heavy, but they can also be times, on one hand, we're going through an emotional purge. Sometimes we can be finding we have a breakthrough with a therapist, or we have some sort of healing crisis that we're dealing with. We're maybe letting go of some emotional baggage. And it can also be that something's coming up financially, whether that is to do with your partner's money, whether that's to do with loans, taxes, mortgages. There is a sextile to Pluto in your 10th house though, so it feels like when it comes to the matters that are happening in that area, you're kind of supported by what's going on career-wise, or the changes that you're doing in terms of your career, your public image, or people you know in high places can be helping you out. So say, for example, you were looking for a mortgage, you could find someone you know is connected and it helps you get that, or someone you know higher up is able to give you good advice on these matters. Or, for example, say you were dealing with something with a therapist, it was the 8th house psychological component, you maybe have a very, very knowledgeable therapist who can really help you work through it. It's a positive full moon, but full moons in the 8th sometimes can feel a little bit like a healing crisis, or sometimes we can learn things that we didn't necessarily want to know. The positive thing is that this is a supported full moon, so you might be noticing that you have powerful people on your side, or powerful protectors on your side, Taurus, when it comes to whatever's developing under this full moon anyway. So some days to mention that are very, very lucky for you in particular, Taurus. Venus conjunct Uranus on the 18th, and the Sun conjunct Jupiter on the 18th, both in your sign. You're very in the spotlight this day. There could be some kind of lucky opportunity, some kind of unexpected development that feels really positive. It feels, for a lot of you, this could be a life-changing kind of day, the 18th, Taurus. It could be that you're overjoyed about something, you're excited about something. The Sun rules your 4th house of home and family, so that could be involved. Jupiter also rules your 5th house of pregnancy, children, creativity, love, so those things could be involved. Venus obviously rules your 1st house. Uranus rules your 10th, so there can be positive recognition going on. There's so many different ways this could play out, Taurus, but all of them seem to lead back to you kind of being in the spotlight, kind of being front and center. If those of you watching this are Taurus suns that are born on the 18th, you have one hell of a solar return for the remainder of the year, and I'm kind of interested to know how that plays out for you. But it is really positive, and you could have very exciting surprises, very positive luck that day, Taurus. So do keep that one in mind. It is a Saturday, so make sure that you're out and about. Taurus. There is a chance for you to say something quite shocking or unexpected on the 31st, because Mercury meets Uranus in your sign, and you're probably going to shock people, or you may receive shocking news. But I feel it's more you, Taurus. I feel you more so have something shocking or surprising to say, or unexpected. You might find that you're putting your message out there to the world. You have something to say that really does surprise people, and it could bring you a little bit of notoriety, as Uranus does rule your 10th house. But that is what I have for you, Taurus. I hope you have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to May 2024. Very happy birthday to the Geminis that are celebrating their birthday in May. The Sun enters your sign on the 20th, marking your season. And what a season, because we will have on the 23rd Venus going into your sign. But the big news is that Jupiter is entering your sign on the 25th for a year. So Jupiter is going to be in your 1st house until June 2025. And I don't care if you're a Gemini sun, moon, or rising, you're going to feel this, and it's going to give you a boost. You're going to feel more hopeful, more positive, more adventurous, like life is not so bad after all. There's going to be feelings of faith returning, feeling optimistic, feeling hopeful, feeling philosophical. A lot of the time, Jupiter going through your sign is like a student going on a gap year and just going off and exploring with this sense of freedom and wonder of what is out there. So it's very lucky, it's very blessed. Jupiter tends to bring blessings where it goes, and when it goes through your 1st house, this can really bless you. So, it's not the time to sit at home and wait for life to happen to you. Jupiter does want you to go out there and engage with it and make the most of it, or the transit can pass you by. Jupiter wants you to have a sense of adventure, whatever that looks like for you. But being in your sign, it might be that you're more interested in learning something, getting involved in your community, getting involved in classes, workshops, groups of people, teams, communities, that kind of thing. With Jupiter going through your 3rd house, you might be very interested in writing as well with Jupiter being in your sign, or you might just simply be getting on better with your neighbours, as Gemini is the sign that represents the neighbourhood as well. But basically this is you feeling very optimistic, very positive about life. The 1st house is your approach to life, so when Jupiter is transiting it, you tend to be more abundant, carefree, you tend to be more adventurous, and you tend to have more confidence as well. It's a big energy. You tend to notice its presence, and it can be a great time to expand your wardrobe, expand or change your aesthetic. It usually leans in a more bohemian style when Jupiter goes through people's 1st house. I noticed they like to wear flowy clothes, and they like to a lot of the time wear a backpack because Jupiter is an adventurer. But anyway, I digress. So that is something to absolutely look forward to, and the fact that Venus is going to be there too means that you're just going to be exceptionally magnetic from the end of May, Gemini. Now, that's all the great stuff that's going on. There is a few things happening this month in your 12th house, of course, and there's actually, believe it or not, as much as people fear the 12th house, it is known as the emotional dustbin in astrology. It can be full of deceit and worry and fear and hidden enemies and weird wacky dreams about your ex. It can be also a place of profound healing and inner peace with self. So we have a new moon happening there on the 7th or the 8th, depending on where you are in the world, and that can be really positive for setting an intention when it comes to your healing. You know, saying you want to be at peace with a certain situation, you want to forgive a certain person, you want to perhaps start seeing a therapist, you perhaps want to start seeing a Reiki healer, or perhaps you want to start clearing certain things out of your life. Whatever that intention is, Gemini, do set it. It's very well supported by Saturn in your 10th house, so it feels like if you were to see a therapist, for example, or see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or something like that in the 12th house, say you were to sign up with one of them, you may find that this is somebody with that sextile from Saturn in the 10th, someone you know through somebody else that can give you a very good recommendation, someone who's in a position of power, maybe a parent. It could be that a parent is supporting you in this, or it could be that you're getting someone who's very educated and very qualified to help you on that path with Saturn in the 10th supporting this. It may also be that your work is supporting this if you're engaging in some sort of healing practice potentially as well. Or it can be that perhaps through your work and the strength that you're getting from it, or the commitment that you have to your work, you're being able to afford something that helps you heal. So whether that's that you're able to now afford a therapist or something like that with the 12th house. But it is a really good time to set an intention for any kind of healing, whether that is forgiveness, whether that is letting go. It can also be a really good time to go on a retreat, or it can be a good time to take some time to yourself. Gemini is something else that can be happening for you here. Now, I won't gloss over the fact that the 12th house is the house of loss. So loss doesn't always have to be actual death of a person. It can be. The 12th house is associated with grieving. And because you've had so much going on there with Jupiter and Uranus connecting there in April, for a lot of you, there could have been some kind of loss in your life, whether it was loss of a relationship, loss of a friend, loss of a job, anything that you have lost with Jupiter going through your 12th house, Uranus there as well. You may find that this is the new moon where you start to find out how you're going to make peace with that, or you have a commitment to making peace with that. Gemini, this can be a time when you really do figure out, okay, well, this is the next step. And you might be able to talk more about these things because Mercury, your ruler, is going into your 12th house in the 15th. So we had a Mercury retrograde cycle. Mercury was in your 11th house for quite a long time there. Because of the retrograde in your 11th house, this could have brought misunderstandings with friends, communication issues online, that kind of thing. And now Mercury is going into your 12th house, and you may feel more prepared to talk about the stuff that you keep close to your chest. You might feel it's easier to open up a little bit about the stuff that you are keeping secret, or the stuff that you're working through in private. It might be easier for you to communicate it. Your dreams might also be more active and more rich with symbolism and messaging that you can actually help heal from as well, Gemini. It's something to ponder. The 18th is a very big day for everybody because not only do we have the Venus-Uranus conjunction, but we also have the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. And the Sun-Jupiter conjunction happening for you behind the scenes just simply means that you're able to do some very profound healing and growth privately, but it might be shining a light on something that's really going to help you going forward. You know, it's happening just before Jupiter goes into your sign. And so this can be a final clearing, this can be a final moment of healing or reckoning within yourself where you notice how much you've grown, you notice how much you have changed, how much you've learned, maybe about the subconscious, maybe about different psychological components, maybe about healing in general. You've probably learned quite a lot, what you've learned in moments of solitude. What you have learned, Gemini, is going to be highlighted on the 18th, and there could be some sort of sudden surprise. It could be a positive surprise with the Venus-Uranus conjunction in your 12th house. Believe it or not, conjunctions in the 12th house, especially where Venus is concerned, you could find out you have a secret admirer. You could find out that someone has a secret crush on you, or someone really feels very strongly about you that you didn't know, Gemini. That can also be something that comes up. On the 23rd, we have a full moon in your 7th house of relationships, the same day that Venus goes into your sign, which means you might be attracting a partner, a potential partner. There could be a positive development in your love life. There could be a positive development with your partnership. This full moon has a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, which is your 9th house, meaning that you could fall for someone or meet someone who is maybe from a different culture to you, maybe someone that you meet at university, you meet at college, or you knew through university or knew through college are potentials. Or it could just be that perhaps if it's not a romantic partner, it's a business partner, or it's a best friend, it's a one-on-one close relationship. You're really feeling like you're having some great discussions about the world, about philosophy, about religion, about what does it all mean? That kind of thing can be going on at the same time, Gemini. But it does feel like emotions can be running high in a partnership, but it seems to be very positive at the time of this full moon, particularly because with Venus in your sign, you're very charming, you're very magnetic, and it's very easy for you to attract. So possibly around this time, you could be attracting love as well. That's what I have for you, Gemini, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi, Cancer. Welcome to May. Cancer, right up until the 20th of May, the sun is going to be going through your 11th house. And not only that, Mercury enters there on the 15th, Venus is there until the 23rd, and we have a new moon there on the 7th or the 8th of May, depending on where you are, which makes this a very social month. There's a lot of opportunity to network, to be involved in groups, to see your friends, to be involved in your community, and also to just be more out there socially, to be meeting new people, to be networking, to be connecting with others, having a lot of energy for social activities, even if you're a naturally introverted person. You might find that you're getting more positive experiences with your friends. And obviously, Jupiter has been there for the last year, and we're going to have some positive interactions between Venus and Jupiter on the 23rd. And we have positive interactions between Venus and Uranus on the 18th and the Sun and Jupiter on the 18th as well. So the 18th in particular, it's a very promising day for social activities. You might be invited to a party, to a social event. It could be really exciting. Venus is conjunct Uranus. Things could be unusual, unexpected. There can be sudden opportunities to meet wonderful people, make new friends. You could meet very interesting people. You could meet somebody famous randomly at a party. You might also find that if you go to an event or a party, you're the belle of the ball with the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. You might make friends that are going to last a lifetime. You might find that you are just feeling really energized and happy to be around people on the 18th. Cancer. And if you are looking to make new friends, new social connections, the 7th or the 8th is a great time to set those intentions. And it's also when this might be happening. You could make a lot of new friends this month. You could be invited to more parties, to more social events. You could find new friendships entering your life, finding yourself part of a new team, part of a new group. And it all feels very promising and very positive for you, Cancer. The only time it's not so much is on the 17th, Mercury in your friendship sector is squaring Pluto in your 8th. So that's the day, if ever there was one, to be a bit triggered by something a friend says, or to be a bit hurt by something a friend says, or to maybe engage in a bit of a power struggle socially with someone else, maybe someone on your team, maybe someone that you are friendly with, or someone that you're part of the same community in. Someone may have something to say that you feel a bit bothered by. You feel a little bit like it triggers something maybe that you've had within you since childhood, for example. You know why sometimes people say something and they don't necessarily mean any harm, but it can unravel us based on previous experiences. So that's a day to watch out for. You might have somebody hurt your feelings by what they say in your social group. That's just one to look out for in particular. But Aside from that, Cancer, there's a really positive sense of community and friendship and connection to other people this month. Now, Mars is going to be ramming through, pardon the pun, Aries this month, which is your 10th house. So Mars going through Aries is really positive because Mars is the ruler of Aries. And in your 10th house, it means it's going to be triggering the eclipse that was in April. So you have a lot of energy for work. You have a lot of energy to make things happen, to focus on your goals, to charge forward, to maybe achieve something, to be recognized. You have the energy to put action towards your career, to your public image, or a particular goal. It doesn't have to be professional at all. It can just be a particular goal that you have that is long term. Cancer, you might have more energy for these things. And if you have a moment of clarity, it's likely to be on the 19th when Mars meets the North Node in Aries. You might have a really clear sense on what to do, where to take action, and you could feel exceptionally driven towards a particular goal that is probably in some way, shape or form part of your destiny, Cancer, around the 19th. It's a very significant date for you. There may be some tough conversations. So Mercury has been retrograding through your 10th house. You know, in May it's direct, but it is going over old ground initially in the first few days of May. On the 6th, Mercury meets Chiron in your 10th house. There could be a bit of a painful conversation at work, or there could be a bit of a painful conversation with someone in a position of authority, or a painful thought even surrounding a goal that may be coming up that you might want to work on healing. You know, you maybe want to put some love and attention towards whatever this is that's coming up for you, whether it's a painful conversation, whether it is a painful thought. This could be part of a wider story that was going on in April. Cancer. On the 13th, the Sun meets with Uranus in your 11th house. There could be something really surprising with a friend comes up. A friend could shock you, a friend could surprise you. Or you could find that you get some kind of a shock on social media or in a community that you're a part of, particularly if it's maybe a male. A friend of yours could say something that completely takes you by surprise, something that completely shocks you. There's a lot of opportunity for that this month because in Taurus season, Uranus is there. It can trigger these shocks and surprises out of Uranus. So you can expect the unexpected quite a bit this month, Cancer. The Sun enters your 12th house on the 20th, Venus enters your 12th house on the 23rd, and Jupiter enters your 12th house on the 25th. So this tends to slow the energy down a little bit. The 12th house is quite sleepy. When the Sun goes through your 12th house, you might find that you are more sleepy, you don't have as much energy, you're wanting to retreat, you're not as social. You could find yourself feeling a little bit under the weather with this particular transit. But Jupiter entering the sector for you, Cancer, means that a lot of the blessings that are coming up within the next year are going to be things that are very behind the scenes. So this can be where you do some really profound healing. This can be where you start to grow from your own pain. This can be where you're addressing issues from the past. This can be where you are letting go. But with Jupiter being there, there's a learning component to this. Jupiter going through the 12th house can sometimes as well be where you see people go on retreats, you know, whether that's a spiritual retreat or a healing retreat. Sometimes with Jupiter, it's abroad, somewhere quite far away. It can be solo travel as well, Cancer. It can be something that you're focused on at this time. It can also be that you're just simply healing in moments of solitude. You're finding more peace with yourself. You're feeling more peaceful, finding yourself feeling more peaceful alone can be something that comes up as well. It can be a great time for shadow work. Basically, when Jupiter transits the 12th, it can put us in periods where we are more comfortable spending time alone because we do feel this need to heal before Jupiter goes into our sign and we can re-emerge. But it can be where you're learning so much about perhaps psychological matters or your dream state or the unconscious. It's also a pretty spiritual place as well. So it feels like you have this guardian or angel around you guiding you through a healing journey while Jupiter is in your 12th house. It can also be where you're healing perhaps limiting beliefs that you've been carrying forward so that you can emerge maybe a bit more optimistic, hopeful and positive about the world too. Gemini, I know that seems like Cancer, I know that seems like a big ask sometimes, but Jupiter going through the 12th house can make us feel more drawn to healing, more drawn to spiritual matters, more drawn to letting go, because we sense that bigger changes are coming. Another thing that's happening this month is the full moon in Sagittarius, which is going to be happening in your 6th house of work. So there could be a matter coming up in your job, there could be a change in your job, there could be changes with co-workers, emotions could be running high at work, your daily routines. You might be thinking, for example, okay, I really want to... A lot of the time, I will say, when full moons come up in the 6th house, that's usually when people are thinking, oh gosh, I really need to get back to running, or I really need to get back to the gym, or I really need to stop eating this, it's making me feel unwell. It can bring your awareness to your physical health and your well-being. But it can just as easily be when there's a change in management, there's a change with co-worker, there's a change in job title. You could be leaving a job. Your role could be changing with this full moon in Sagittarius. And it forms a sextile to Pluto in the 8th house, which means that you're fundamentally finding that as you change and you let go of certain things, you feel better in terms of your health and your well-being. So maybe you're letting go of certain habits, maybe you're letting go of certain foods, maybe you're letting go of certain beliefs, whatever it is. It's helping you grow and it's helping you feel better, Cancer. One day that could be particularly interesting is the 31st, when Mercury and Uranus are conjunct in Taurus, your 11th house. You get some shocking news from a friend, a group, a team, or there can be really lively, exciting discussions going on in that area. And what comes up might actually really surprise you, Cancer. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to May. I hope you're doing really well, Leo. So, right off the bat, May 2nd, Pluto is going to go retrograde in your sector of relationships and partnerships. And so this might be a period of review when it comes to perhaps some kind of relationship where there has been a power struggle, where there has been a bit of tension, maybe conflict with another person. This is a time to review it. It might also be a time, if there's something legal going on, you're starting to review that too. There's a period of review, reassessment, reanalysis. But it could be time to go over old ground that has been coming up since January when Pluto entered Aquarius. So whatever changes or transformations or power struggles or conflicts were going on in a key relationship, whether that's your spouse, your partner, your business partner, your best friend, it's time to go over old ground and maybe face some shadowy aspects of yourself and how that could possibly be projecting onto someone else, or even reviewing how someone else could also be projecting onto you in perhaps a power struggle or conflict in a relationship. We have a new moon coming up in your 10th house, and it's on the 7th or the 8th. So for a lot of you, this could be a new job. This could be a new professional path. This could be something that you're self-employed. This could be a new project of yours that you're branching out to. This could be a new title. This could be a new role. This could also be that if you're employed by someone else, your boss could be changing. People in positions of authority could be changing. It could be that there's something going on with a parent. But this is all pretty well supported by Saturn in your 8th house. So Saturn going through your 8th house means that when it comes to whatever changes are going on for you professionally, it feels as though you potentially either have some kind of financial support from somebody else to make these changes, or it could be that you have your finances in order to make these changes, or it could also be that you're getting some sort of support from someone else, or perhaps you are maybe doing some degree of work on yourself or transformation on yourself that's going to help you professionally. But it does feel like, Leo, there is a new beginning early on in the month when it comes to maybe your career or your boss or someone in a position of authority or a parent in your life. And those changes keep on coming because the sun is there until the 20th. We also have Mercury entering your 10th house on the 15th. So for those of you that are public figures, or those of you that have to maybe give a presentation in your job, this is a great time for you to speak well. This is a time when you're going to find it easier to win over people, especially because Venus is there in your 10th house until the 23rd. It's easier for you to win people over professionally. You're more liked in the workplace. People are more interested in what you have to say. You find it easier to communicate to a boss, to people you work with. Professionally speaking, it's easier for you to articulate what you want to say, to put your message out there and for it to be well received, except for the 17th, when Mercury in your 10th house squares Pluto in your 7th, you might find that you're having a tense conversation with someone on a one-on-one basis. So say you're having to communicate something at work, you could find yourself up against a competitor. You could find yourself up against someone who wants to ask you more questions than you're prepared for. So that's not the best day for communicating anything professionally unless you're ready for a bit of a challenge. We also have in the 18th, so the 18th is a Saturday, and obviously not everybody works Saturdays, but you can feel this the day before, the day after as well. But we have a Sun-Jupiter conjunction in your 10th house, which can bring fame, it can bring recognition, it can bring positive expansion. Maybe you're getting a job offer, maybe you're getting a promotion, maybe your video is going viral on TikTok, whatever it is that you do. And this could be totally unexpected because Venus is conjunct Uranus in your 10th house in the same day. This could be a total shock to you. This could be a total surprise. This could be more than you expected. But it basically tends to expand. Jupiter-Sun conjunctions bring a day of luck and a day of blessings. And for that to be in your career sector, it feels as though around that time something really positive could be happening for you, Leo, when it comes to your career, when it comes to your professional path, or maybe even when it comes to something going on with a parent as well around that time. Now, on the 20th, the Sun enters your 11th house. The 23rd, Venus enters your 11th house. And on the 25th, Jupiter enters your 11th house. I have to say, as an astrologer, I think Jupiter going through the 11th is one of my favorite transits, and I say this every time it goes through someone's 11th house. I say this is my favorite transit. It brings the potential for wish fulfillment. Dreams can come true when Jupiter goes through the 11th house. And what's lovely about this one is that Venus is there with Jupiter in your 11th house. There can be some sort of bestie entering your life because Jupiter is going to be in your 11th house until June 2025. You can meet the best friends, have great times with friends, have great times with your community. You can meet new people. You can meet friends for life. You can have wishes come true. Your manifestations can come true. Your vision board, you can just go tick, 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 tick. Everything is happening. You're also well received by an audience. And you can benefit from memberships. You can benefit from communities. These are the places that can bring you a lot of joy over the next year, Leo. And particularly with Venus entering that sector on the 23rd, you can find that you're just feeling exceptionally blessed in this area. And it can also be a time where perhaps you have a friend to lovers storyline, or it can be that you're just making great friends. But whatever the case may be, Leo, that area, your 11th house, is likely to be very blessed. And because it is a sector of wishes, just be mindful to be careful what you wish for. There's a full moon in your 5th house on the 23rd, and this is beautifully creative. It has a sextile to Pluto, which brings transformation. So the reason this is particularly lovely for you, Leo, in a romantic sense, is because it's happening in your 5th house of love, romance, dating, pleasure, entertainment, and it has the sextile to Pluto in your 7th house. So there can be potential for a really passionate romance in the horizon, and also a lovely romantic day with your partner if you have one, or if you're single, it's a great time to go on a date and find someone that you might really feel positively obsessed with, not in a creepy way. You just feel like you're really into the person and they're maybe really into you as well. That energy can come up with Pluto being in your 7th house of relationships, forming a harmonious aspect to the full moon in Sagittarius in your 5th. Also great day for a creative collaboration with somebody else. So if you're a creative, if you're a musician, if you're an actor, if you're a painter, it's a great time for some kind of collaboration with another person. It can be really transformative and even cathartic as an experience, Leo. Mars is going to be going through your 9th house for the whole month. And this is really cool because Mars loves being in Aries, and that benefits everybody. And for you, it particularly benefits your 9th house. Now, for a lot of Leos, I actually think, and this is obviously not going to be the case for everybody, but with the North Node going through your 9th house and the solar eclipse being there, there's a lot of really positive travel experiences or reasons to travel. There can be a lot of traveling going on for you guys. And if you are traveling a lot in May, or you're planning travel, Mars is going to give you that energy to do so. You're going to feel really driven to travel. It won't be as bothersome for you to get on a plane and fly to this country and then fly to this country. It would be a great month to travel with Mars going through your 9th house because you have the energy. And also Mars meets the North Node in the 19th, which means you might have a really clear indicator of where you want to go in your next trip, or there could be some kind of destined trip that's coming up. Now, obviously Mars is traditionally known as a malefic, but because it's in Aries, it can be really positively expressed. So even if you have frustrating things going on while you travel, it's almost like you have the energy to bounce back and to tackle any issues that might be coming up in May. One day to watch out for if you are traveling though is the 29th, when Mars connects with Chiron. You don't want to injure yourself, you don't want to hurt yourself by being careless or reckless. So on the 29th, maybe be careful with the action that you're taking. If you're trying to do something too quickly, you could actually hurt yourself. Is something to watch out for. There might be some surprising news professionally coming up for you, Leo, on the 31st as well, because Mercury meets Uranus in your 10th house. So your boss might have surprising news, or you might have something to put out there to the world, and for some reason the response might surprise you. For a lot of you that work online, you might find that you go viral, because Uranus can be associated with going viral or having some sort of internet presence. That's what I have for you, Leo, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, welcome to May 2024. So Virgo, I'm going to start with the good news. Jupiter is moving into Gemini this month. And this means that for the next year, until June 2025, you're going to notice expansion, positivity, reasons to be optimistic, reasons to be hopeful, growth when it comes to your career, when it comes to your professional life, your professional titles, your job, what you're known for, your reputation. These are areas that can really benefit from Jupiter transiting this part of your chart. You might notice that you get a promotion. You might notice that you get more recognition at work. You might notice that you are expanding what you do. You're maybe having opportunities to learn and study through your job. You might even have opportunities to travel through work this year as well. And it can also give you more notoriety. You can be known more for what you do professionally. Other people are more likely to be impressed for you. You're more likely to reach people in high places. That kind of thing can come up with Jupiter transiting the 10th house. It can also bring professional changes. And these might be things that make you feel like you're growing, like you're expanding, like you feel you have less in the way of limitation, Virgo. So that's really positive, and it's particularly positive from the 20th, because on the 20th, the Sun enters your professional sector and Venus enters there on the 23rd. So from the 23rd of May until the end of the month on into June, you're going to have the two benefics in your 10th house. Virgo, and this can bring you really positive developments when it comes to your work, when it comes to your professional life. People are more receptive to you, you're more popular in your job or your professional life or what you're known for, your public image. You're more likely to be well received, which is really positive. Now I know I've jumped ahead a little bit, so I'm going to go backwards and go in order until that point, but I just wanted to give you the good news off the bat. So firstly, On the 2nd of May, Pluto is going to be going retrograde in your 6th house. Now, this is also a somewhat professional house. This is to do with your co-workers, your staff, your employees, the people that you see at work rather than your boss, for example. But it is also to do with your services, your daily routines, and also your health and your wellness, your diet, your exercise, that kind of thing fall under this house. So Pluto going retrograde, you might have noticed in this sector with these themes, there's maybe been some power struggles. So you could have had power struggles with an employee, a co-worker. You could have had a power struggle with your personal trainer or something like that. And you could have been noticing, where Pluto goes, we usually see a bit of a shadow. You might have noticed shadows in your co-workers, shadows in your employees, and behaviors that maybe you felt were a bit manipulative, or there was a bit of a power struggle or something like that since January when Pluto moved into this sector. So you have this time to review and reflect and maybe integrate some of the stuff that's been going on in the sector, what you've learned, where you've noticed you feel powerless, where you've noticed you try to control, where you feel like you can't control these things, where you feel obsessive, or where you feel even compulsive in these areas. And this is a really good time for shadow work, integration of these lessons, and to really reflect on what you've learned through this experience and maybe what you personally can change inwardly if you can't necessarily change the circumstances outwardly, Virgo. We have a lot of activity happening in May in your 9th house. So we have a new moon happening on the 7th or the 8th of May. This is a really nice time to book a trip, take a trip, plan a trip. It's a really good time to focus your attention on a different culture, traveling somewhere new, taking a vacation, taking a holiday. And if it's not that, this might be a new period of study, of higher education. This might be a time when you're wanting to learn more about a specific belief system. Or it might just simply be a time when you're signing up for university or signing up for college, or you have exams or something like that if you're in higher education. It does have this really positive sextile to Saturn in your 7th house. So for some of you, this could be planning a trip with a partner, taking a trip with a partner. It could be that some of you perhaps even are taking a trip if you're single and meeting a partner with Saturn being there. And it could be a lifelong partner too, or at least a long-term partner. Mercury enters your 9th house on the 15th, and so you're likely to be engaging more in conversations about spirituality, about religion, about philosophy, about the world, about what does it all mean. Those kind of conversations are coming up, really your mind might be more drawn to these areas as well. You might be wanting to research these areas. You might be wanting to learn about different faiths. You might be wanting to talk about them. Some of you might even decide you really want to learn another language. Maybe on the 7th or the 8th you book a trip to Italy and you're saying, okay, well now I need to learn Italian. That could be something that you're focusing on doing, Virgo, from the 15th. I will say on the 17th, Mercury gets into a square with Pluto in your 6th house. So I feel like if you are trying to learn a language or you want to discuss, well, firstly, if you're trying to learn a language, you might find it instantly quite frustrating with the square to Pluto and a bit irritating. It can also be that you're having a discussion with someone at work about religion or philosophy and you really butt heads with that square to Pluto. So just watch for that day in terms of communication in general. You might feel a little bit beaten down by somebody else's opinions, especially if you work with them or they're in the gym, or they know a lot about, or they think they know a lot about what you're talking about. This might be a time when you really butt heads with someone, and because Mercury is your ruler, you might feel extra sensitive to what they have to say. So just be careful for that. The 18th is really interesting. So Venus connects with Uranus. The Sun conjuncts Jupiter. This is an amazing time for travel. A travel opportunity might come up for some of you, Virgo. This could be something completely out of the blue. This could be that if you are traveling, perhaps you run into someone famous or some kind of opportunity comes along that you weren't expecting, some sort of once in a lifetime experience. This is a really interesting day when it comes to your travel experiences, higher education. So maybe for some of you, you're getting your degree. Maybe for some of you, you're getting knowledge on your results of exams, or maybe for some of you, you're just having this like spiritual epiphany of what you believe in, and suddenly it all clicks and it all makes sense, and it just comes out of nowhere in the ninth house. But the ninth house is a really positive place to have a Sun-Jupiter conjunction, especially if you are traveling or an opportunity to comes up around that time to go on a trip. It can be really positive for you, Virgo. Now, Mars is in Aries all month, and that means that Mars is going through your 8th house. So we had a solar eclipse in your 8th house and a Mercury retrograde there in April, and I'm not going to lie, that must have been pretty triggering. It feels as though things could have been getting on your last nerve. You could have noticed all sorts of, challenging experiences. Sometimes the 8th house can be a place of crisis. You might have had some frustration with other people. You might have found that there was a lot coming up when it comes to your partner's money or your financial situation, your mortgage, your inheritance, or your intimate life as well. There could have been a lot of changes, a lot of reflection, a lot of review. Mars going through this particular sector for you is great for intimate relationships. It's a very spicy transit. It can also be, though, that if you have in-laws or you have something going on with a mortgage or an inheritance, there can be arguments there, but it feels as though you might have the energy to face these matters because Mars loves being in Aries, Virgo. So it might be that you have the energy to face the different issues or crises that present themselves. Like, you're the brave one, you're the one that can do it, you're the one that can put out all the fires, so to speak. That can be something that's coming up too. You might have some clarity in the direction of any issue that you have in that area on the 19th when Mars connects with the North Node. You might be thinking, okay, I know what direction I need to go in with this problem or what I'm tackling here when it comes to the mortgage, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to your partner's money. That can be a key date in this cycle, particularly because Mars in May is going to trigger the eclipse from April. So there can be new developments, it can become clear where you need to take some kind of action. We have a full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd, and for you, Virgo, this is really putting the focus on your roots, on your home, and on your family. So there could be something coming up with your home sector under the full moon on the 23rd. You might notice this in the 3 days prior. You might notice this in the 3 days to a week after, that there is some kind of development going on with your home. There could be something coming up with family. Maybe someone in your family is changing job. Maybe someone in your family has positive health news, or something's coming up with the health of a family member because it's sextiling Pluto in the 6th. It could also be that perhaps you are moving, or you're wanting to spruce up your home, or you're wanting to spend more time with your family, or there's a family event coming up at that time. That can be another way that this plays out, Virgo. As I said before, Venus and Jupiter are entering your 10th house this month, which is really positive, and it feels as though you're going to be very well received in work and professionally, Virgo. That is what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Libra, welcome to May 2024. I hope you're all doing really well. So Libra, this is a much more chilled out month than April was, because April obviously had the eclipse season, particularly for you, with the lunar eclipse being a south node eclipse and being in your sign. You may have been feeling kind of exhausted in April. You might feel like there's a lot of stuff ending in your life, a process of letting go, even if it's just simply quite energetic. And you personally are going through this journey of letting go of some people-pleasing tendencies in your first house. So whether that is you are dressing to please others, whether you're making decisions to please others, whether your personal goals are more in line with someone else's vision than your own, you may be finding that in April and into May, then you're going through this process of unraveling some parts of yourself that aren't really you at all. So I just wanted to mention that because it's some background energy going on. The South Node is going to be in your sign for the rest of the year. So you're going through this process of review personally and letting go of what no longer serves you. And in your sign, a lot of it comes back to people-pleasing tendencies. And I mention that because Obviously, we had a solar eclipse then in your 7th house of relationships and other people. And Mars, which rules your sector of relationships and other people, is actually going to be in that sector for the whole of May. So Mars going through Aries is really positive because Mars loves being in Aries. The energy is expressed really well through Aries energy. It's where we feel, in terms of our action, we feel brave. Excuse me. We feel brave, we feel courageous, we feel driven, we feel like we can take a chance, take a risk, make a change and break away, a la Kelly Clarkson. But you might also be finding that this can sometimes drum up a little bit of excess energy and then lead to conflict and irritation when it comes to a partnership, a relationship. That can be your spouse, that can be your significant other, that can be a business partner, that can be your best friend. Whatever the case may be, whatever the relationship that it is, sometimes it can drum up a bit of conflict with a partnership, and it's going to be triggering that eclipse. So whatever conflict you're going through with another person, it might come up again in May, but it is more likely to be resolved in May because Mars really is making more positive. There isn't really much in the way of challenge when it's coming to Mars being in Aries. Now Mars is going to meet Chiron in Aries. That's going to happen on the 29th. So there might be some sort of painful action from a partner. Your partner might hurt your feelings by what they do. It can also be that there is clarity in terms of the direction a relationship is headed, with Mars connecting to the North Node in the 19th. So pay attention to those dates because they could be quite key when it comes to your relationship. Now, if you're single and you find that this month you meet someone that feels quite destined, that's probably because of Mars triggering the eclipse. Because Mars obviously rules your relationship sector, it's going to meet the North Node in your relationship sector, and it's going to trigger the eclipse degree this month as well. So do pay attention to that because there could be something coming up with a significant new encounter with somebody special or somebody quite destined. So that's the intense cardinal energy out of the way. You'll be happy to know that Mercury, having been retrograde in your partnership sector, is going to be direct all month. Mercury moves out of shadow in your relationship sector, and Mercury actually enters your 8th house on the 15th. And we have a lot of action happening in your 8th house this month. So the 8th house, just so you're aware, is to do with other people's money, so your partner's finances. It can also be mortgages, loans, money that you get from other people, money that you get from the bank, money you get from the government. It can also be your relationship to the occult. If you're someone who is interested in the occult, as you probably are, as you're on this video, your relationship to astrology, to divination. It can also be to do with your psychological state. So this is where you often find with 8th house transits, people are learning about psychology. They're learning about their own inner workings of the mind. So there's a lot of different ways that this can play out, but there's a new moon happening here on the 7th or the 8th, depending on where you are in the world. So this can be that your partner's salary is changing. This can be, and you can feel this effect up to 6 months from now, but you might be getting word of your partner's finances changing. For some of you, you could simply be getting a new tarot deck if you're into tarot. For others of you, you can be getting a loan, a mortgage. You could be finding a new way to pay off debt. And that's really positive because 1, this is in the sign of Taurus, but 2, it has this lovely sextile energy to Saturn in your 6th house of service and responsibilities. So you might be making a commitment to paying off debt. You might be bringing in more habits to pay off a particular loan, a particular mortgage. You could be getting a mortgage at this time for some of you. And this might be because of your job or a job change, or you might be finding that you are just really wanting to get your financial habits in order and make sure that you're kind of in the clear. Maybe you're wanting to let go of some outstanding debt. Maybe you're wanting to clean up your financial situation, whatever that might be. But it feels like for a lot of you Libra, you're really focusing on getting your finances in order, or there are changes in your partner's finances as well. And Mercury enters that sector on the 15th, which means that you're going to be probably talking more to, if you have a partner, about your financial situation. This might also be that you're more interested in discussing things like the occult. You might see an astrologer, for example. You might be more interested in the mysteries of the world. you know, the things you could be talking about. You might talk about true crime and conspiracy and mystery. That all comes under the 8th house in terms of a conversation you could be having this month, with Mercury being there. Another thing to mention, Libra, is that Pluto goes retrograde on the 2nd, and it's going retrograde in your 5th house of children. So for those of you that have kids, there could be something coming up with a child. Now, we're looking back a little bit here. Pluto entered this sector on the 1st of January. Not the 1st of January, sorry. It entered in January. Pluto entered this sector in January. So there's been themes coming up, likely, whether they are obvious or not. When it comes to your children, this can be power struggles, this can be fears, phobias, this can be control issues that come up with your children. So maybe one of your children is dealing with a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And now this comes the period of reflection where you start to integrate what's been going on there. Now, it doesn't have to be children. It can actually be your romantic life, your dating life. You're starting to reflect on what's been going on there. Maybe you've been attracting obsessive partners, or maybe you have been really fearful of dating, or romance could be coming up. Those type of things might be coming up for review now with Pluto in retrograde. You're going over old ground since January, so it's quite easy to track. You might notice that these themes are obvious to you depending on how it's affecting your own natal chart, but it might not necessarily be too obvious for some of you. But it is a period of review when it comes to fears, phobias that you have surrounding intimacy, surrounding creativity, surrounding fertility, maybe surrounding entertainment, gambling, if that's an issue for any of you. And it can also be to do, as I say, with your children. So these are areas that are coming up for a review, and you're looking at it through the lens of, what am I scared of? What are my fears? What are my phobias? Where am I trying to control too much externally? And I can do a little bit of inner review and see what I can change internally, and that may affect what's going on externally more so, rather than trying to control it. So we have as well, Libra, really good news this month, because Jupiter is going to be entering Gemini. Now, this is really positive for a number of reasons. One, it is an air sign like you, which means that it's going to be forming harmonious aspects to your Libra placements. Secondly, it means that Jupiter is getting out of your 8th house, and Jupiter tends to expand where it goes. So sometimes with Jupiter in the 8th house, and it can expand our fears, it can expand our phobias, it can expand our debt, depending on how it works out for you. Obviously, there can also be positive energy with that, such as getting the knowledge on how to clear your debt. It can also be a growth in your partner's finances. Those type of things can happen with Jupiter in the 8th house. But Jupiter entering the 9th house means that this is going to be a wonderful year for you to travel, to take trips, to explore different lands, to explore different cultures, to learn about different places, and to also, maybe for some of you, get a higher education, whether that's going to university, college, getting a diploma, whether you're just more interested in learning about the world. Your curiosity is going to spike, you're going to feel more adventurous, and you're going to be seeking knowledge. And Jupiter tends to bring blessings where it does go, so you might find that you have some of the best traveling experiences this year. Or if you haven't traveled in a while, this might be the time when you finally say, actually, do you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to book that trip. And Jupiter enters Gemini on the 25th, and this is really nice because Venus is there as well. So Venus and Jupiter together in your 9th house makes the end of May going into June a wonderful time to take a trip, to take a holiday, to take an adventure. One interesting day that's coming up is the 18th of May. Venus meets Uranus in Taurus, and the Sun meets Jupiter in Taurus. So your 8th house is lit up like a Christmas tree. And you might find yourself benefiting from someone else financially. Say you get the mortgage for your dream home. Say that your partner suddenly wins big in the lottery. Say that you have a really wonderful experience with an astrologer or a psychic or a medium or something like that. You're probably going to feel like that day brings an unexpected boost to your life. That could be quite exciting, Libra. Another date that's worth noting is that the full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd brings a peak energy when it comes to your local neighborhood. So This might be a nice time to get involved in your local community, to go to a neighbourhood party, a neighbourhood event, spend time with your siblings. Something could be coming up with a sibling. For some of you, a sibling or a neighbour could announce that they're expecting, with the sextile to Pluto in your 5th. For some of you, you could go to a neighbourhood party and find someone that you fall in love with. It could also be that perhaps when it comes to a writing project, if you're involved in that, you feel a real creative boost with Pluto in the 5th sextiling this full moon. So that full moon's a really nice one to get social. You might also find yourself buying a new phone, a new camera equipment, new recording equipment for you to work on a creative project as well, Libra. That is what I have for you. I hope you have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Scorpio, welcome to May 2024. So Scorpio, right off the bat, this month is significant for you because Pluto is going retrograde, and Pluto is your modern ruler. Now Pluto in January entered your 4th house, and the 4th house is your home, your living situation, property. It's also to do with your family relationships, and your roots. And so Pluto, having been in that sector since January, means that there may have been unavoidable or inevitable change when it comes to a family member, when it comes to your living situation. These are areas that are going under transformation, going under change. These are areas that might be a little bit at times psychologically challenging or triggering, or a lot at times even. But you may find that as Pluto goes retrograde, it kind of gives you a chance to revisit the energy and the changes on an internal, introspective level. So a lot of the time with Pluto transits, we inevitably grasp for control. We're trying to control the outcome. We're trying to make the changes. And when Pluto goes retrograde, we start to say, okay, well, maybe the changes have to come from within. Maybe it has to be how I respond. Maybe it has to be how I reflect. And so you're going through a period of review when it comes to any changes or potential changes in your living situation, in your dwelling, in property owning, in your property portfolio with your family members. And especially if, your roommates or your family members are going through psychological crises with Pluto, you're maybe starting to see things from a more internalized perspective where you're controlling only how you respond rather than trying to change everything externally with Pluto retrograde. But it is going to be a little bit of review in what's been happening since January. So there's a lot happening this month when it comes to your relationships in general. This isn't a solitary month by any means. We have a new moon happening in your 7th house, which could for a lot of you be a new partnership, could be a new relationship in your life. It does not necessarily have to be romantic. It can be a business partner, it can be a best friend. But the sextile to Saturn in your 5th house suggests that there is at least some level of love there or commitment there. So for some of you, it could be committing to a partnership. It could be committing to a relationship or a one-on-one relationship, creatively speaking. So maybe for some of you who are creative, it is a new creative collaboration. And that doesn't have to be the traditional definition of creative. It doesn't have to be musically or in entertainment. It can be, and I think for a lot of you it probably is, but it can be what you're creating together as a project. So for a lot of you it can be that you're committing to a partner or you're meeting a new partnership and it's going to be a love commitment, but for others of you it's a creative commitment. Or it could as well be a commitment within a relationship to have a child, to have to create or birth something together, basically. So whether that is a literal baby or a creative baby, the way some people call their creative projects their baby, it can be something like that. Or for others of you, it could be maybe getting a pet with a partner. But your relationship sector is pretty activated this month, Scorpio. And interestingly enough, the 18th is a huge day when it comes to relationships. Venus and Uranus are conjunct and the Sun and Jupiter are conjunct. For those of you that are single, you could meet someone out of the blue that ticks all the boxes. They could be a little bit different to your usual type with the Venus-Uranus conjunction, but love could really take you by surprise. It could also be just meeting a best friend out of the blue, meeting a business partner out of the blue. For some of you, this could foretell changes in your relationship, a really positive time with a partner, a big momentous moment with a partner, feeling joy with a partner. It can also be for some of you, of course, that if you're in a relationship that's not working, this might be such an intense energy that you're able to let it go. But I feel as though if you are, it might be quite amicable with the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, but it's certainly putting a highlight on your relationships for positive surprises, a lucky streak when it comes to relationships. So something exciting seems to be happening when it comes to partnerships on the 18th, Scorpio, for a lot of you. This can also be, it's not just the sector of romantic partner, it can be a legal matter, it could be a legal win if you're in some kind of case. And it can just be an alliance in general, or a contract that you're a part of as well. That can be the way that this plays out if you're not interested in romantic relationships. This can be that perhaps, as I say, you're meeting a best friend, you're meeting the right business partner, you're making an alliance with someone who's going to be really positive for you. And some of you might even, this is really random, but some of you might even meet your celebrity crush on the 18th with the Sun-Jupiter conjunction happening in your 7th house. One other thing about relationships is that you're probably going to be communicating more so with a partner this month, with Mercury being in your 7th house, or you're going to be talking about just the concept of relationships. So maybe talking about your wants and needs in a relationship. You're maybe finding yourself more chatty with a partner. The only day that's really troubling for this is that Mercury is going to square Pluto on the 17th. And it feels as though there could be a little bit of tension between maybe a partner and a family member, or tension surrounding your living situation and your partnership. So maybe you're having a tough conversation about the living arrangement that you're in, or you're having a tough conversation with maybe a contractor about your living situation, your home, your development. That's kind of a tricky day for conversations and tense news. So watch out for the 17th. The Sun meets Uranus in your relationship sector on the 13th, which can bring a lot of shocks and surprises when it comes to a partner. You might find that your partner does something completely out of left field. Say, for example, they come home from work and for some reason they've dyed their hair pink, and you never would have thought they'd dye their hair pink. You know, they work in a bank and it's just not Bob's personality, but he's come back with pink hair. That can be the type of thing that's going on with the Sun conjunct Uranus in your partnership sector. Something might happen that just really surprises you, even if you're single. You might meet someone that's just electrifying you. Hopefully not literally, but someone who's, you know, you look at and you think, oh, goodness me, this person just came out of nowhere. It can also be that a business partner is shocking you. It can be that a best friend is shocking you. There's something surprising going on in the mix here. And it might be something that they're doing career-wise that's surprising, or you might be making career moves that surprise other people too, because the Sun rules your public image, Scorpio. We do have a full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd, highlighting your money. And your money is going to be particularly important because Jupiter is the ruler of your 2nd house, and Jupiter is moving into your 8th house of other people's money. So the full moon in Sagittarius is highlighting your finances, the money that you make, your income, your values as well. But really this is a good time to look honestly at your financial situation, the money that's coming in versus the money that you're spending, looking at your budget. And it has a really nice sextile to Pluto in your 4th house. So maybe a family member is helping you financially, or maybe you're looking at your financial situation when it comes to your home, the money that you want to put into your home. Maybe some of you are deciding you want to save for a new home, or in terms of renovations, or you're looking at the cost of your living situation as well. Scorpio, this is a time of review, but the sextile to Pluto makes it quite positive. So whether that's a family member helping you, whether that is that you're maybe looking at ways to cut some money out of your spending in terms of the home. Say, for example, you were saving on your heating bill because you had just got insulated windows or something like that. I don't know much about that stuff, so that example might be totally void, but you know where I'm going with it. So there's a focus on your money. You might also be getting paid for something. Your financial situation might be changing. You might be getting your first paycheck and a new job. You might be earning more. With it being Sagittarius, I feel like you're feeling kind of positive about these changes, or kind of hopeful or optimistic. Jupiter entering your 8th house in the 25th, where it will be for a year, means that you're going to be benefiting more from other people's money. So whether that is that you're getting an inheritance, whether that is that you're getting a mortgage, a loan, whether that is that your partner is making more money, you're likely to notice the effects of somebody else's financial abundance helping you, so to speak, Scorpio. So you might notice that you're benefiting more so from other people's financial situations. So again, that can be a mortgage, that can be a grant, that can be a loan, that can be your partner's money increasing for sure. And this might make you feel a little bit more financially comfortable. Now that's from the 25th, but Venus does enter that sector on the 23rd under the full moon in your financial sector. So it feels as though towards the end of the month, you're going to really be feeling the love from other people. With Jupiter and Venus being in the 8th house, you might find that you're more attractive to intimate partners. You're drawing in more intimacy. People want to give you more hugs. People are more like affectionate with you. It's something you might notice with Venus and Jupiter being in your 8th house as well. You might also have more knowledgeable and abundant experiences with astrologers, psychics, mediums. Clairvoyance, that kind of thing is something you might also notice, Scorpio. One thing I do want to mention is that if you're into exercise, health, or fitness, this is the month where you're absolutely going to be killing it, because Mars is going to be in Aries all month, and that is your 6th house. Now, when Mars is going through Aries, you'll have more energy to hit the gym, to do a hike, to do a run. You'll be more determined and focused on your nutrition, what you're eating, how much you're exercising, how much you're moving. You will have excess energy, Scorpio, so try and work it out in a way that is healthy and productive for you. But this is definitely going to give you an energy boost for sure to your 6th house. This can also mean that you are more determined to fight off any enemies that you do have. Particularly in the workplace, you may be more competitive, you might be more up for the challenge, and you might find yourself being more irritated by co-workers or employees, or you might notice them fighting around you. There could be more conflict in the workplace as well. Scorpio. And particularly in the 19th, if you have a goal that is health or fitness related, you're going to be very clear on where you need to take action and what you need to do to get yourself in the best shape, or the best to give yourself more energy in general, with Mars meeting the North Node in Aries on the 19th, Scorpio. So that's what I have for you. Hope you have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to May 2024. So Sagittarius, I am going to be starting towards the end of the month and working my way back, because your biggest news is towards the end of the month. On the 20th of May, the Sun enters your relationship sector, which means that this is going to be an area of focus for you from the 20th onwards. Now, this is significant because Venus enters this sector on the 23rd, which brings blessings and abundance to your relationships, as it is. But the big news is that Jupiter enters this sector on the 25th and will be there for a year. So from the 25th of May onwards, up until June, you're going to have both benefics, Venus and Jupiter, in your 7th house of relationships. This is really positive, because you're going to find that when it comes to your partnership, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your significant other, you're going to find that you are receiving a lot of blessings and abundance in this area. And that can mean, for those of you that are single, that you meet somebody this year who's really going to tick those boxes. And it might actually be, almost immediate for a lot of you, because we do have Venus there. And then obviously we have a new moon coming up in June in that sector too. So if you're single, this is a really great time to get out there, because it's Jupiter and it's your ruler. You may have to make the first move if you are looking for somebody new. But it can also be that you just simply feel more confident with the partnership that you choose. Being around them makes you feel more confident. This is a great time if you're in a relationship to get engaged, to get married, to plan a wedding, to go on adventures and holidays with your significant other, because Jupiter loves to explore. So there's a really positive year ahead when it comes to relationships, Sagittarius, that you're going to enjoy very much, regardless of your situation. So another thing that's happening towards the end of the month on the 23rd is the full moon in your sign, which is sextile Pluto, and Pluto is in your third house. So Pluto recently retrograded in your third house from the 2nd of May at this point. So the full moon in your first house means that you might feel a little bit more emotional. This is the same day that Venus enters your 7th house. So you could be feeling a little bit more sensitive, a bit more emotional. You could find, though, that you are more attractive to romantic suitors or to positive, harmonious relationships with other people, and that's maybe because you're more in the spotlight. You know, the full moon's in your sign, maybe you're doing something this day that is putting you in the spotlight for your personal goals. For a lot of you, you could realize under this full moon that you want to change your image in some way. Maybe you're getting a haircut, maybe you are getting some new shoes, maybe you're buying some cowboy boots or a cowboy hat, because it's in the sign of Sagittarius, which is associated with horses. You know, I'm not just plucking that out of thin air. You could be finding that you're making some sort of changes in your appearance, maybe buying some new face creams, maybe getting your nails done, whatever it is, Sagittarius. You're probably finding that this is a time to do something with your appearance, or maybe even clear out some old clothes from your wardrobe or old shoes and stuff like that can be happening as well. You might also be having some sort of manifestation when it comes to your personal goal or something you've been working on as well, Sagittarius. But with Venus being in your 7th house, whatever you're doing, you're attracting more people towards you, or maybe your partner is very in awe of the changes that you're making to yourself. Say you get a haircut, your partner might actually really love your haircut and care and say so. They might notice, you know, it's that kind of energy with this full moon in your first house. But it can make you more sensitive. It can actually make you more physically sensitive, believe it or not. So if you're buying clothes or creams or anything like that, you might notice that your skin has something to say about it. You know, it's like, no, don't buy this jumper, it itches. Or don't get this cream, it smells a bit perfume. That kind of thing. Sagittarius. So that's the end of the month. Let's hop forward to the front. So the 2nd of May, we have Pluto going retrograde in your 3rd house. So since January, Pluto has occupied this part of your chart, and this is a time to review that area. So you may notice that there's been some kind of change when it comes to a sibling, when it comes to your mental state, so how you're thinking, how you're processing information. It could also be to do with short trips, you know, a state over, drive in the car, that kind of thing. It can also be to do with your neighbours and your neighbourhood, or how you communicate. And this is the time to do a bit of review based on the changes that have been going on there. So you might have been dealing with a power struggle with a neighbour. You might have been kind of concerned about a sibling. You might have been rethinking how you communicate and how you actually say what you mean or not, Sagittarius. This is the period of review, reflection, and integration on how those changes have affected you, but what you can change internally to deal with them or manage them. There's a lot happening in your 6th house. So there's a new moon happening there on the 7th or the 8th, depending on where you are. The sun will be there until the 20th, and Mercury enters that sector on the 15th. So for a lot of you, your work, your day job might be on your mind. You could be starting a new job, you could be starting a new role, you could be providing a new service. For some of you, it could also be that you're starting a gym, you're starting to train for a 5K, you are working on something to do with your health and fitness, you have some intentions to set there, you have some goals to set there. And with Mercury entering that sector on the 15th, this is something that you're going to be thinking about a lot, you're going to be learning about, reading about. So say, for example, you join a CrossFit class. You're going to find that you set the intentions, you sign up, and then you want to learn everything you possibly can about it, read about it, watch YouTube videos about it, that kind of thing, with Mercury being in that sector for you. You want to talk about it, And this is going to be an area where you're really focused. Say you have a new job lined up or you're starting back at work. This can be a time when you've got a lot of reading to do, with Mercury being in that sector as well. And interestingly for you, Sagittarius, there could be something quite exciting happens at work or in the gym or just in your everyday experience, because we have a Venus-Uranus conjunction and a Sun-Jupiter conjunction on the 18th. I feel like if you're starting back at work or you're starting a new job or you have something new coming up in the workplace, you're going to be really appreciated for it. Sun conjunct Jupiter in your 6th house. I feel like your co-workers are going to be really loving you that day. I feel like your employees are going to really love you that day. It's giving employee of the month vibes for a lot of you with the Sun conjunct Jupiter in your 6th house. Can also be that you maybe reach a momentous fitness goal, or you're finding that you have a talent for something in the gym too with that particular conjunction. The Venus-Uranus conjunction is making me think that there could be some sort of surprise. Some of you might, if you're single, suddenly fall in love with someone at first sight in the gym, or you might fall in love with someone at first sight at work. That can be something that's going on as well for a few of you. But it feels as though for most of you, you're really going to be focusing on putting in place new healthy habits. And then the universe has some sort of surprise in you based on those new intentions. Now, Mars is also going through your 5th house this month, which is really positive because Mars is in Aries, and Mars loves being in Aries. So for it to go through your 5th house means that you've more energy for playing with your children, having fun with your kids if you have them. It can also be that if you're out there dating, you've more energy for dating. You are feeling more like you can do it. You're feeling more like you can put your energy into people. Put your energy into meeting people, put your energy into putting yourself out there. You can also feel very creative. You can also feel as though you are, if you're a creative person, you have the energy to express yourself, you have the confidence to express yourself. You might have more confidence dating too. And you might be feeling more energy towards being romantic with this being in Aries as well. You might also feel really quite lucky with Mars being in Aries, transiting your 5th house. And on the 19th, Mars actually meets the North Node in your 5th house too. So you feel like you have the energy to go in a destined direction. Mars is triggering the eclipse from April this month. So with it triggering the eclipse and meeting the North Node, for some of you this can be a pregnancy. For some of you this can be a birth. For a lot of you it would be a very positive time to give birth, but I feel as though for most of you it can be the birth of a new project, the birth of a new relationship, the birth of a new endeavour or opportunity in your life, but you're feeling very determined to go for it, Sagittarius, is one thing for sure. So that is what I have for you. I hope you have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to May 2024. So Capricorn, Pluto is going retrograde in your 2nd house on the 2nd at 2 degrees. So we have some 222 energy. But Pluto basically going through this sector is saying that it's time to review the changes and the transformations and potentially the phobias, control issues that you've had in your 2nd house of income, the money that you make, since January. So there's likely been some kind of change since January when it comes to your financial situation. Whether that is that your income has changed, your salary has changed, but it can also be that maybe in terms of this particular house in your chart, it's more focused on your values or your self-confidence and your self-esteem. There may have been some changes or transformations there as well. Now, there is the vague threat of Pluto moving back into your sign in September until November, because Pluto is going to retrograde back into your sign later. We will deal with that more so in the September horoscopes, but you feel it in the distance where you're going to be perhaps going over an old issue when it comes to your relationship to yourself. But with the 2nd house being in play here, this is to do with your value and self-confidence, what truly matters to you, and allowing yourself to change on the inside, giving yourself the room to change your opinion, to change your perspective on what matters to you, and to also be comfortable making financial changes that you feel more empowered about as well. So whether that is that you had the confidence to walk out of a job that wasn't good for you from a psychological perspective with Pluto, it may have changed your salary for the better or for the worse, but perhaps it's giving you a bit more mental peace, Capricorn, for some of you. And perhaps for some of you, you've really been reviewing your own confidence and how you approach goals and making changes there too, with Pluto being in the second house. Now, this month has a lot of promise to be quite fun. We have so much happening in your fifth house of fun and entertainment and joy and pleasure and love and romance and all that sort of stuff. We have a new moon there on the 5th, the 7th or the 8th, depending on where you are. So it's on the 7th or the 8th, just to clarify. And Mercury is still in shadow when I'm filming this. But this can bring a new beginning romantically, creatively. It can bring about a birth or a conception. So if you do not want that, be extra cautious. It has this really nice sextile to Saturn in the 3rd house. So maybe for some of you, a sibling is welcoming a new baby into the world. You might find that your sibling is pregnant, or there's something very exciting happening with your sibling's kids. For others of you, it can be if you're beginning a new romantic relationship. This could be with someone who's from your town, from your local community, someone you meet through a neighbour, someone you meet through a sibling. For some of you, this could be a creative or fun project you're getting involved with in your local neighbourhood. So a hobby that is close to home. There could be an exciting new beginning happening there for a lot of Capricorn risings. Mercury enters this sector on the 15th. And this could be a time where you're finding it more easy to express yourself creatively. You could be writing more, you could be performing more, you could be putting your creative talents out to the world, expressing them verbally. So whether that's that you're reading a poem, whether that is that you're writing a song, whether it is that you're putting your creative talents on the internet. Capricorn, I feel like you're more creatively minded. It might also be easier for you to communicate in a romantic relationship, romantically in general. And there might also be better communication with your children if you have them, with the exception of the 17th, when Mercury gets into a square with Pluto in your 2nd house, where you might have a heated conversation or a tough or tense conversation, maybe based on differing values, maybe based on differing perspectives. There just seems to be a tough conversation or clash going on with Mercury in your 5th house squaring Pluto in your 2nd. There's a bit of tension. Maybe you have, a child that has a differing opinion on you and you have a bit of an argument about it. So that can be coming up around that time too. On the 18th and then just the 18th actually, there's 2 big things happening on the 18th. Firstly, Venus is meeting Uranus and the Sun is meeting Jupiter. The Sun meeting Jupiter is usually considered one of the luckiest, if not the luckiest day of the year, and it's happening in your 5th house. So if you've been trying for a baby, this might be a time you find out you've been successful. This may be a time you give birth. This may be a momentous moment for your child. This might also be for some of you a creative project gets great recognition. A creative hobby or talent gets great recognition, or this is just simply a day with lots of fun and joy and excitement. This can also be with a Venus-Uranus conjunction in your 5th house, love at first sight with somebody, or a great romantic surprise happening on the 18th as well. The 18th is just a really fun day, so make sure that you're doing something with it, Capricorn, because it just feels really joyous and jovial and full of positive surprises. On the 20th, the Sun enters your 6th house and Venus enters that sector on the 23rd and Jupiter enters that sector on the 25th. Jupiter is going to occupy this part of your chart for the next year. So until June 2025, Jupiter is going to go through the 6th house, which means that your benefits from the great benefic, the abundance, the prosperity, the joy is coming in the form of your workplace. Whatever job that you're doing, where you work, your co-workers, having a lot of fun. Say you start a new job under this transit, you might notice that it's a really fun office to work in. You might notice that it's quite lively, the conversations are good, the social opportunities are good, they have a lot of fun together. For some of you, you can also find love in the workplace if you're single, but Jupiter going through the 6th house is really saying that you're going to be enjoying your work, enjoying your work sector, working with fun people. It's funny, I sometimes look back on transits for myself, and when Jupiter was going through my 6th house, I was working a part-time job while I was studying at university, and it was in a gym, and it was so much fun. Like, met all the most interesting people. There was so much fun, so much social activity, so much joy. That's the type of energy that can come through Jupiter going through your 6th house. You tend to enjoy work, and you tend to enjoy what you're doing and the people you're working with. It can also be a time when you're more invested in your health and you get a lot of joy from working out, exercising. Again, my example, I was working in a gym. I by default got a gym membership for free. Had a lot of fun. It can be that type of energy. So maybe you're signing up for a marathon, maybe you're signing up for a gym and you have a really great social life. You can get a really good social life and fun and joy going when it comes to your exercise. You may also be learning a lot more about nutrition and things like that as well with Jupiter going through the 6th house, Capricorn. But particularly from the 25th, when Venus and Jupiter are both in that sector, you may notice that there are extra blessings coming up in that particular part of your chart because Venus and Jupiter are both the great benefics. Now, that being said, on the 23rd, there's a full moon happening in your 12th house, and this is kind of a tricky house, but this full moon is very well aspected by Pluto in your 2nd. It's got a lovely sextile. So the full moon in the 12th house, this is a great time to pay attention to your dreams because they usually have something to tell you, especially with Pluto being involved. You can get some positive psychological transformation going on here, some positive shadow work through a dream. Do you know the way sometimes you can just have a nightmare and it leaves you very disturbed? This is more so you have a dream and it might give you closure on something that has been disturbing you. So you might find, Capricorn, that you're getting some degree of clarity, awareness about a troubling matter, about an unconscious matter, a subconscious matter. This can be where your dream reveals a secret to you that you really needed to know, a missing puzzle piece. It can be as well that you become very aware of a hidden enemy, and usually that is where we have our own vices or self-limiting beliefs. And the sextile to Pluto is saying, okay, you have the power to change this. You can change this. You can reflect on your control issues surrounding this matter. You can make positive changes. It's time to change it with Pluto being involved. So this full moon can actually be very enlightening for you, Capricorn. Another thing that's going on is that Mars is going through Aries all month, and Mars is very happy in Aries, and it's in your 4th house. So on one hand, the positive energy for this, if you need to knock down a wall, if you need the energy to renovate, this is your time. Mars in Aries is saying, I'm going to take the hammer, I'll knock it down myself. Obviously, if you're too reckless or impulsive with Mars in Aries, you can hurt yourself, so just be mindful of that. But it gives you the energy to pursue and initiate when it comes to the home. So whether that's that you're looking for a home, searching for a home, there's work to be done on a home, you have the energy to do it. This can also mean that you're more irritated by or irritated with your family or your living situation, whoever you live with. It can also be that they're more irritated with you. So there can be some fights and discourse with your home situation, your family situation. Be careful of leaving candles unattended. You have a Mars ruled 4th house. Be careful of leaving candles unattended, plugs left in, that kind of thing, because it can cause fire damage or heat damage in your home. That can be something to watch out for with Mars going through the 4th. But if you're looking for some new direction when it comes to your home, the 19th could bring some clarity. Or if there's a change in your living situation going on based on the solar eclipse in your 4th house from April, because Mars is going to trigger that eclipse, you might get some very clear direction on what's next, where you need to take action, what you need to do to get the ball rolling. That's what I have for you, Capricorn. Talk to you soon. Hi Aquarius, welcome to May. So Aquarius, the first thing that I want to mention for you this month is that Pluto is going retrograde in the second in your first house. So Pluto is going retrograde in Aquarius. And that means we're going to, over the next couple of months, go over the ground that you have been covering since January when it comes to your own sense of personal control, personal autonomy, personal empowerment. So you may have noticed since January that you're more conscious of where you give away your power, where you give away your confidence, where your approach to life is more passive. You may have noticed what changes you want to make there, where you want to stand up for yourself, where you want to stand in your power, what makes you feel empowered, and also the shadow work that you've been doing personally and realizing parts of yourself that you'd like to change, or you'd like to transform, or like to transmute. But really, this cycle for you is going to be an incredibly empowering time that gives you permission to change when you want to, or when you feel like you need to, or even when it is quite simply inevitable. I know a lot of Aquarius risings in particular since January have actually been kind of rocked by this in their own life, because if we spend a lot of time in life not acting from a sense of personal empowerment and we've given it away to other people, they can be pretty confused, at the least, with when you're calling it back and you're taking charge of your life. It can be very unnerving for the people around you, and then you have to deal with those changes too, because any changes that we make in the first house tends to affect our seventh house of relationships with other people. So now you have an opportunity to integrate and to reflect on how well this is going for you, what you can change internally, how you respond, rather than what you're doing per se to make changes. So responding to changes rather than what you need to do, because you've probably been noticing a lot of change around you. And this is a period until September of reflection on that area of your chart. So reflecting on your relationship to yourself, where you make empowered changes, where you give away your power, that kind of thing. So that's the main thing, because it's happening in your first house and it's such a big energy, Pluto. But we have a lot of energy, Aquarius, happening actually in your fourth house of your home and your living situation. So, hands up for those of you that were a bit shook in April by the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in your fourth house. Uranus transiting the fourth house, and it's going to be very activated this month. Uranus transiting the fourth house is usually where we can deal with unpredictable or unstable and unsteady changes or energy in our home and our living situation. So whether that is that you are not sure where you're going to live next, it can be periods of traveling a lot, sudden moves, having to suddenly move, having to suddenly relocate. It can be that your home situation is not necessarily stable. It's not a calm, centered place to be living with Uranus going through the fourth. Jupiter came along in April and expanded on that, exacerbated that. That can also bring an opportunity that maybe you had to move abroad or move somewhere new. But for a lot of you, May is where we start to say, okay, what is next with the living situation, the home situation? What's the plan? Because we have a new moon in Taurus in your fourth house, which has this really lovely steady sextile to Saturn in your second house. So you might have to get your finances in order or bring some sort of financial plan into your living situation. So say you want to buy a home, maybe this is the time you set that intention and you start looking at your financial situation and you get your books in order. Say you're renovating. This could be a time when you set a plan in place and you figure out what financial obligations this is going to take, what different companies are offering, that sort of thing. Or say you're deciding that you want to buy a new home or move home. With Saturn in the second, you're saying, okay, well, what do I need to know about this mortgage, or what do I need to know about this payment plan or this rental agreement? You're getting very clear and dedicated and kind of serious about your finances when it comes to your new chapter living wise. Now, I will say one thing. There could still be a little bit more surprise in store when it comes to your living situation, your home, or your family. Okay, so the fourth house can also be family, the people that you live with. There's a Sun-Uranus conjunction on the 13th. Your modern ruler is Uranus. But the sun rules your relationship sector. You and a partner could, you and your partner, you and your spouse, there could be a shock or surprise when it comes to your family, maybe your family together, or your living situation. There could be some sort of surprise in store, a shock in store. This shock could come from a male person in your life, or it could just simply be that you're shocking your partner, or your partner is shocking you, or both. When it comes to a living situation, say they went out and bought a shocking bright pink carpet for the bathroom and didn't tell you, because dear Lord, that would send me to madness, I think. A pink bright carpet in the bathroom. It's the weirdest thing I could think of in that particular moment. But anyway, that could be something that's happening in your home situation. There could be some shocking news in the 31st regarding home or family. Your family could have something to tell you that you didn't see coming. It could be that there's a shocking conversation or surprising conversation that comes up. But these can just as easily be moments of clarity and light bulb moments as well, Aquarius. Uranus is notoriously hard to predict, but the 31st could be where there's a letter comes in, or there's a text comes in, something surrounding your home where you feel kind of shocked and surprised by it. The 18th, though, is pretty positive when it comes to your home and your living situation. So there's a Sun-Jupiter conjunction in your 4th house in the 18th. There could be a positive surprise when it comes to your family, maybe expanding your family, maybe you get a wonderful new roommate, maybe you put a down payment on the home that you really want. There's a Venus-Uranus conjunction, which means there can be a sense of acceleration, forward movement with this, positive surprises that you love with Venus, positive shakeups, positive shocks with the Venus-Uranus conjunction and the Sun conjunct Jupiter. There is the potential for great luck this day, great abundance and great joy. The Sun-Jupiter conjunction usually coincides with, because it is the luckiest day of the year, so it's happening in your home sector, so expect something positive when it comes to home and family matters, even if things feel a little bit shaky and uncertain at times thanks to good old Uranus. Mercury is going to be in your home and living situation sector from the 15th, and it does get into a square with Pluto on the 17th. So you might find in terms of conversation, in terms of the text messages that you send, the emails that you send, the phone calls you have, a lot of it can be linked to your home and your living situation or your family. They can be the people that you're communicating with the most. That can be the area of life you're thinking about the most. But on the 17th, that tough square means that you might have a bit of a power struggle in a conversation with a family member. Or about your living situation. The 17th is a bit of a tricky day for conversations on those matters, Aquarius. Mars is going through your 3rd house all month in Aries, and Mars is very happy in Aries, so you might have the energy and the courage to tackle a writing project or to involve yourself in your local neighbourhood. Maybe you're wanting to clear up your local neighbourhood, maybe you're wanting to run a 5K in your local neighbourhood. You have the energy to get involved in community, in a group. You might also find that you have more energy to tackle an issue with a sibling, especially if there's something painful going on with a sibling. Thanks to Chiron, you might have the energy to put, some effort into a challenging relationship with a sibling or a challenging relationship with a neighbour. But Mars going through Aries is pretty positive. So for you, Aquarius, you might find that you're just more active in your local community. You're just more active when it comes to your local environment. Maybe you are going for more walks in your local environment. You're getting more physically involved, running, volunteering in your local neighborhood, helping clean it up or something like that could be happening too. If you're looking for a new direction when it comes to a writing project or a short trip, the 19th, Mars meets the North Node, but also because Mars this month is triggering the solar eclipse in your 3rd house in April. There could be some new destined directions when it comes to your neighbourhood, your community, your relationship to your siblings if you have them, and also a writing project or a short trip. So you might be going on a short trip, you might be getting involved in your local community. And these are all parts with the North Node that are saying this is the destined time to do so. But it also feels like in terms of if you're a writer, this is a great time for ideas and taking action on a writing idea and using that talent of yours. The Sun moves into your 5th house on the 20th. Venus enters your 5th house on the 23rd, and Jupiter enters your 5th house on the 25th, and Jupiter is going to be there for a year. Jupiter going through the 5th house is going to be a lot of fun. So this might be a time where if you're single, you have a lot of fun dating, a lot of romantic opportunities. You could fall in love. For some of you, this could be a pregnancy. For some of you, this could be expanding. A pregnancy would be expansion. So it could also be that your children are having children. It could be that your family's expanding in that sense, but it can also be you're getting a lot of joy through your kids. You're noticing they're happy. You're noticing they're having fun. They're joyful. They're going through positive experiences in their life. This can also be a time when you're more creative. This can also be a time where you're more fond of just having fun in general. You're just more up for positive experiences. You feel joyful. Some of you might be taking more risks than usual. You might win in the lottery. And I'm not saying that you should play the lottery every week, but a lot of people find with Jupiter going through the 5th, that is when they might win on a scratch card or something like that. But obviously do those things responsibly. Aquarius, but it can just be a really positive time for love and romance and dating and having fun in life and enjoying your hobbies and feeling creative and your kids having a good time. And you might notice from the 25th, because Jupiter and Venus are there, it's a great time for fun, great time for going out, socializing, getting together with people, dating, all those kinds of things. Aquarius could be coming up with Jupiter going through your 5th house. It's really cute. It's a really fun one. There's a full moon in Sagittarius on the 23rd, and this is your friendship sector. So it's a positive sextile to Pluto in your 1st house. As soon as I stop talking, all the dogs stop. No, they're back. I can just hear so many dogs barking at once. So there's a full moon in your 11th house of friendships, groups, your community. Under this full moon, there's probably some kind of party going on that you're excited to attend. There might be some sort of community event. You could be going to a social event. There could be a lot of social networking, a lot of exciting, adventurous socializing going on. So maybe you're traveling and you go to a local event wherever you are holidaying, wherever you're vacationing, because it's Sagittarius. But it can just be that you're spending time with your friends under this full moon. It's a great one to spend time with your friends, to catch up, because you're feeling, with Pluto in your 1st house sextiling this full moon, you're feeling empowered and you're feeling very popular with your friends at this time and popular with the people that you're connecting with socially under this full moon in Sagittarius. You might also notice that you get more views on social media. If you're on social media, you might get more recognition on social media as well with the full moon in Sagittarius. Aquarius. So that is what I have for you. I hope you have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to May 2024. So Pisces, Mars is in Aries all month, and Mars is very happy in Aries. And this means that your 2nd house of income, money, wealth, and possessions is getting a very positive boost. Now, having an Aries 2nd house, you're naturally quite entrepreneurial and quite driven. A lot of Pisces risings are typically self-employed, or at least have some kind of side hustle where they are actively pursuing money of their own. So you might find that this month you have the energy to do just that. You have the energy to make more money, to push yourself to make money, to go get it, basically, with Mars going through the 2nd house. And it is going to be triggering the eclipse, and this might mean that you really feel as though you have the energy to start something new, to initiate something new, or to roll with whatever new beginning was happening for you financially in April or going forward, because Mars sometimes it takes Mars to come along and trigger that degree for you to say, oh, I get what this is, I get what I have to do. And also Mars meets the North Node in the 19th, which might be a time that you get clarity on this new direction and this new path, because there could be a new way of making money that is going to be part of your destiny, Pisces. with Mars going through there, you'll know how or where to take action in order to make more money or to have more income for yourself. Mars going through the second house, you can also have the energy to spend more money. So, you know, try to be mindful of that, because it can be quite an impulsive and reckless energy too, where you might regret buying something so quickly or spending so much money on something so quickly. But certainly a lot of this your energy this month, Pisces, is going to be going towards making money, pursuing money, or being more financially motivated in general. And there can be new opportunities coming up because of the trigger to that eclipse. Now, we start the month with Pluto retrograde on the 2nd, and Pluto is going retrograde in your 12th house of the subconscious and endings and dreams and things like that. So Pluto has been there since January, and you might have noticed some very powerful internal transformations, because this 12th house is the subconscious. It's the part that's hidden away from the world, the part that the world can't see. So you might have been having some very profound, symbolic, transformative dreams since January. You might have been doing some very significant shadow work or healing work since January. You might have been letting go. You might have been finding yourself in moments of retreat and solitude to work through some stuff. But Pluto going retrograde here means that you're going to be revising your relationship to that very thing. So you could notice around the 2nd, your dreams are very crazy. You're dreaming of people from the past. You're maybe even hearing from people from the past that are kind of psychological sunburn, where you feel triggered by their presence or them showing up in your dream or whatever it is. But this is a great time to review it and to bring back some sense of center internally, and relinquishing control issues, trying to control your responses. It can also make you more investigative of your own subconscious mind in order to take back control, so that you don't have some sort of trauma or trigger running the show and pushing you down paths you don't want to be in. That can be coming up for you, Pisces. Now, we have a lot of activity in your 3rd house. So the 3rd house is your everyday life. Okay, so this is your 3rd house. This is your commute. This is your car. This is your local neighborhood. This is your local coffee shop, your local grocery store. All of these different things are highlighted here. And believe it or not, this can be where you have the most exciting surprises this month, especially on the 18th. There's a Venus-Uranus conjunction in your 3rd house, which could bring love at first sight with a neighbor in your local community and your local commute. It can also be, it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be a new friend. It can be somebody who is just going to shake up your view of the world. It's fun and surprising and exciting. It can be as well with the Sun meeting Jupiter in that sector, that perhaps you are getting some sort of recognition in your community, or you're the belle of the ball at a community event, or you run into someone famous in your local coffee shop or something like that, Pisces. But this is a really exciting time to be out and about. I wouldn't stay in that day. I would get out and about, because a lot of, the universe can surprise you in the most mundane of ways. It's like running into your favorite musician in your local coffee place. It's like seeing the love of your life at a petrol pump. That kind of thing can happen. And it can be as well, there's something very exciting happening with a sibling. It can also be there's something very exciting happening with a cousin or an aunt or an uncle or a neighbor. And it can also be the opportunity for a once in a lifetime trip. So maybe a local trip, somewhere that's a couple of towns over, somewhere that's a short drive away. It can also be a new car entering your life. Maybe you're buying a new car, getting a new car. It could be your dream car with the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. You could feel really positive about this new vehicle. And there's a new moon happening in that sector on the 7th or the 8th, depending on where you are. So for some of you, the sextile to Saturn in your 1st house means that you're making a commitment to this new thing, to this new community project, to this new neighborhood, to this new vehicle, to a project with a sibling, with a neighbor. You're making a positive commitment and responsibility. You're taking responsibility in that sector, Pisces. So that's really interesting, actually. Although do watch out for the 17th. So Mercury enters your 3rd house on the 15th, meaning that when it comes to your mindset and your thought process, you're thinking more about your local neighborhood. You're thinking more about thinking, believe it or not. You're catching your thoughts. You're noticing what your dominant thoughts are, if they're negative, if they're positive. You're maybe more prone to writing, to communicating. You're more focused on how you communicate. Mercury going through the 3rd house is positive for communication. But on the 17th, it does square Pluto in your 12th. So it feels as though a sibling or a neighbour or an aunt or an uncle or a cousin or something like that might say something that really triggers you and feels a little bit like a betrayal. So do watch out for that day, because it could be that sort of psychological sunburn where someone says something that maybe shouldn't hurt so much, but it does based on past experiences, or it unnerves you, Pisces. There's a full moon in your 10th house on the 23rd, and it has a sextile to Pluto in your 12th house. So you're getting recognition in your workplace, Pisces. And it might be because of the hard work or transformation you've been doing behind the scenes, the stuff that you've been working on privately, but it feels like you're getting maybe a new professional title, you're getting recognized for your work, you could be getting a promotion, you could be put up for a new job, you could be getting a new job, leaving a job. With the sextile to Pluto, it feels like you're maybe being victorious over hidden enemies, or perhaps it's something you didn't think you would get, or something that you didn't even know you were in for, but you're getting some kind of recognition, Pisces, professionally speaking, where you feel like you're seen, you're very visible, people in positions of power see you, and you might also find that your visibility in the workplace, there could be people who are quite powerful, who have been watching you that you were not aware of, and you find out under that full moon that you're on their radar, and you think, oh, I didn't think that was ever going to happen. I didn't think that anybody at that level was watching what I'm doing. You might find that you're more visible, so best behavior. The Sun enters your 4th house on the 20th, Venus enters there on the 23rd, and Jupiter enters your 4th house for a year on the 25th. Which is very exciting. So this is putting a lot of focus, particularly from the 25th, onto your living situation, your home, your family, and your property matters. So for a lot of you, this is going to be the year you get your dream home, you buy a home, you get on the property ladder, you renovate, you expand your property or living situation. It can also be that your family expands, whether that is that someone in your family gets married, has a child. You can notice positive expansion in your home and in your family situation. Jupiter hasn't been here since 2013, so that can be a good time to look back and see what was going on. Because this is Gemini, you might find that your family is more lively. You might find that when it comes to a home, some of you could actually purchase 2 homes or be living between 2 homes because it's Gemini. You might find that you're also learning a lot about your ancestry. Gemini is very curious, so you could be learning more about your ancestry. And Jupiter being the ruler of your 10th house means you might move for work. And Jupiter is also associated with foreign travel, so you might actually move abroad, is something else that could be happening, Pisces. But that's looking very exciting. And from the 25th, both Venus and Jupiter are in your 4th house, making it a very good time to house hunt, renovate, purchase things for your home, decorate, that kind of thing, or just enjoy time with your family as well, Pisces. Look out on the 31st for some unexpected text message, email, or news coming to you that you did not see coming when Mercury and Uranus meet in Taurus. That is what I have for you, Pisces. I hope you have a beautiful month, and I'll talk to you soon.